and or creating content for you guys and putting stuff on the Instagram and the TikTok. And I've just been faffing about. My technology is getting rather old for the old planned obsolescence vibratory and various other reasons inhibiting my renewal of new technology. But we're, slowly navigating life. I feel really inspired to go live. So we're here, we're live. Welcome to my channel, All to Love TV. I want to talk about just like the mystery of life. These are always unplanned. I for quite a few years would just go live every morning when I woke up, which was usually around 3 o'clock in the morning. And I would, get the lights on, get ready, and usually have a little bit of a meditation vibration because I read cards. I tend to settle the mind, and I teach yoga. I've been teaching yoga for a long time. We're just having chat now, it's a get to know myself. Part of the story is having some pretty cool radical spiritual awakenings like 20 years ago. More than that now. Like 23 years ago in 2001, I moved to Vancouver, Canada, and had like a series of events that just completely blew my mind. And I now live in the United Kingdom. I've lived here for 20 years. Hello! My gosh, gracious love, it is miraculous times. Such profound karmic shifting, huge, profound lessons. More storms have been moving through, and yet the storms are becoming more kind of clear in as far as like the inner work goes and the depth of the purgings which have been going on, collectively speaking, and feeling that renewal, like slowly but surely, the renewal energy of clarifying some of those core wounds. I do think that generationally speaking, we're now hitting up against some core wounds and coming into a pretty clear unified perspective of like how we're having to study that force field, as it were, within us, like that grounded, loving, the vision, the holy vision that many of us carry as far as a better world for everybody with not so much corruption and weird power dynamics and lower bass tones of jealousy and competition. Mish. And continuing to hold in deedles. It's like I am witnessing, or certainly perhaps attracting in the kind of teachings, as it were. Ooh, intriguing. I would love to feel free to share, and you can feel free to send an email and share as well. Well, interesting. I'm thinking, gosh, 4 months ago would have been, so May, June, July, August, 4 months ago. Similarly, because that would have been an April eclipse, and or there was also that Jupiter Uranus conjunction, and both of those were triggering a huge psychological breakthrough. Hence the like total reflective recognition of a deeper layer of honoring the core wounding in connection to like the mother father wounding, and again, like a lot of us have been probably doing fair amounts of healing in like different dimensions or realms, you could say, like a lot of the soul work and the galactic work, and then still landing home to the earthly plane. And because a lot of this stuff to me is our ability to share the experience. Yeah, like the depths of things that are moving through us. it's making me think of, like, in addition, the continuing call to like the silence and the connection, and bringing in the soul, bringing in spirit, bringing in light, and trusting the process to keep purging these energies that have us feeling disempowered, less than, the the energies that make us feel like we can't communicate authentically or honestly. And it's all there in our heart. And it's moving through these, really, because depending on where we're positioned on the planet, it's all in the air, as it were, right? Like, and so there's a greater, because there's more and more of us coming online, more and more of us sharing, there's more teachings, there's more reflections of, like, discerning what we're working with. And that's a continuing sense of holding our own light, and sort of being steadfast with that aspect of keeping going. I resonate with, as far as honoring the level of, you use the word psychological. I'm also thinking of the honoring and recognition of the collective damage. I was just having a chat with somebody about the being able to be self-aware enough to just see the collective addiction to our phones, the collective addiction to just all the distraction and the escapism. And I'm right there with everyone, like, I can see it. The we're on our phones, or they're near us all the time, and yet there's a continued kind of chaotic, divisive energy sort of being continually propagated, and yet there's an increasing amount of self-awareness. So it's all, that's why I do feel more and more and more people being called to ground, to nature, to heal trauma, to congregate with people we trust, to find the people in our communities that we can trust and we can engage with, to hold space for us. And that it might be just one other person. That's something that I'm having, where it's just really one other person, but it's a close person. It's a familial connection. It's rewiring those bonds that we can trust, that we can be authentically ourselves, and that are safe enough to have people hold space for us. Because as we continue to excavate those deeper levels of trauma, we have to trust that those spaces are there, and then to continue to the unfolding, because what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And it's the heart and the feeling and that connection point that heals us, right? It's our connection to source and our soul that is really generating these bodies and these projections, and our connection to mind and heart, and our ability to show up in the way that we desire, which is an authentic autonomous thing, which is why we're continuing to see codependencies being purged, low-level power dynamics being purged. That's why part of our or the entire global economic structure is shifting, because we're shifting. Our paradigms are shifting. Increasingly, we're seeing more and more people step away from vapid, superficial, consumerist materialism and moving toward connection. It's part, and I mean connection to self, connection to other, in that authentic connection, and connection to the land. It's I always think of these sort of basic common denominators. We all live in a body, and these are our primary homes and vessels that we're operating in this earthly dimension, and then the earth herself. And considering the actual knowingness of earth being a sentient being in a body, it's more about us grounding in to honor more of the sacred connection of our own existence, of the planet's existence, and which is why, from a sensitive, empath, whatever word you want to use. It's just people who, when they see sort of useless destruction, and because again, destruction is part of existence here. But when we see senseless wars, destruction, pain, like self-inflicted, perpetuated pain going over and over, it's the insanity which drives us to the change within. And that's part of the beauty and the miraculousness that we're all living through, is our increased resilience, our increased collective ability to be self-aware and see everything that's going on and keep ourselves grounded in enough love and compassion to hold space for ourselves in union with other. Because it's not, there's never that sense of separation, even though that's what the ego always dictates to us, right? But there again, with more and more meditation, with more and more collective presence, we'll continue to witness speedier shifting in as far as those of us that are maybe more practiced in clearing and moving through emotional storm and shifting, or people say transmuting or transforming lower base tone energies. But there's also, and I recognize this in my own experience, a deep trust and faith that often has to be lived through, as in we might have to lose everything. We might have to go through really, really, really big, deep, profound challenges to get to the other side, to slowly build our lives again and reorient ourselves after having lived through something really profound. But the profundity is usually there to heal stuff and ego, like delusions we don't know we're running until we hit the shit storm of life. And that forces us, once we're on that self-regenerative and self-responsible path, it's kind of par for the course that we're just going to have to keep processing until the processing kind of runs its course, and then we're guided into action. Like I can feel it shifting for me. There's this depth of shadow work that's running its course, and each emotional storm is seeing things different angles, and then it's the creative energy that's coming through, but from a more grounded place. Just simply because my own personal life is more grounded than it was 6 years ago or 7 years ago. Even though I didn't know it. I thought I was grounded, I thought everything, but when I look back now after what I've lived through, I'm like, wowzers, there was quite a few little blind spots there. But that's part of being a humble human being, is just living through stuff and making loads of mistakes. You feel me? That's so funny. One mind, hala shazam. Artificial intimacy. I literally caught wind just to sift on a la socials. I saw a headline article about women's solution to all problems was something like an artificial mate. I don't just, oh God. There's just so much that I suppose you could say unable to speak on, because one, I don't know enough about it, and two, I'm kind of in that throw of activating our own divine intelligence to work in unison in a kind of really collectively aware, plugging in. Hence, instead of frying our brains and just becoming addicted trolls that are constantly on our phones shopping, totally, I do it too. But to shift that focus into conscious connection. So weird, right? And this is where, and I follow somebody on TikTok called Hypervigilance, Smoking and Thinking. He talks a lot about being in narcissistic abuse recovery, and in a sense, I think more and more of the masses are just going to keep waking up to that, because the entire global system is sort of like a narcissistic system that's gaslighting all of us into continuing to think we have to be slaves. But yeah, following him, and what was he talking about? Just the way so many of us are connecting online. A good chunk of my small, intimate people that I feel safely connected to are internet friends. They're people that live in different parts of the world that I voice note and connect to and share stuff with to feel more supported in this life. Most of us don't have maybe as many physical support systems in the physical, and I mean like really truly authentic ones that we feel supported. If anything, we're continuing to learn and navigate through the energetics of our, like the way collectives work, you could say, and the way we're anchored into these power dynamics, usually via fear, because we need to get our needs met. And so we're, there's a sense of compromising integrity because everybody's indentured into that kind of narcissistic system. So there's kind of all of us having to act that out until we break free. And it's the freedom break that is to me where we take a huge leap, but then we're gonna have to face some deeper shadows, and it's living through those downturns or those intensities that, again, I'm speaking just from how I perceive my own experience, that just slowly but surely through the all that is good and holy through this divine experience rebuilds us slowly. And we endeavor, yeah, I guess, to use the light of our presence or enough compassion within our own heart or enough divine intelligence to kind of have enough of an understanding of what we're going through, to trust the process enough to, as in, it's like I'm saying, in every deep emotional storm and all the like the moments we think we're being fucking brutalized or the heart is breaking or like what, and that, I mean, in my journey, that has been kind of an ongoing depth of emotional processing for years now. And that's what I mean about coming to the other side, is that it's less intense. There's still lots of emotional processing and but there seems to be like a clarity and a groundedness within the like surrender of like, I've surrendered to this, and thus I have no control in the way that the small egoic self would want to have control so that I could have power over and versus the true honoring of my own soul's journey. And having gotten to a point of greater stability, knowing that universe has got your back, but you're not dictating to the universe, you're working in synergistic relationship with it. That's what karma is. That's why we have to be self-responsible. As in, from this perspective, working from a place of force and brutality to gain power, or working from a place of deception and manipulation, isn't actually that powerful, which is why there's a greater sense of will or resilience being built up from within. These are the quantum mechanics. This is the true intelligence, right? Because it's our own it's our own godly intelligence that birthed the technology that we're relating with. So to then project this ideation that the technology is going to have power over us seems kind of weird. And again, in that weird, the dystopian projection of our species. So we're it's this work of always coming back to the sense of self and heart and desired projection for all of us. And then figuring out how to step into the receivership of that, into the divine grace of actually allowing those visions to come into manifestation. One thing I take as an affirmative reflection for me is I see it all around me. My own life is peaceful and supported for now, and yet, and so I honor that. And yet, of course, there's visions for more. But one thing that my reality is reflecting back is that there's people all around the world initiating and or creating the same vision that I see and have. And so I continue to feel supported in knowing there's places to go and there's more people to meet and there's more and more for us to create. And that's part of this idea of regulating our nervous system, healing trauma, doing our best, etc., through all this stuff, because I recognize that it's only when we're actually kind of relaxed enough and supported enough, and we're not being triggered by the bills, and we're not in financial distress, and we're not terribly unsupported, that we can start to actually put our energy into creative endeavor. And yeah, here we are, creating. Words are spells. We're creating through the words, and I'm sure I can absolutely be far more discerning with the words I use. But I was gonna write and then I find myself not doing it. I'm writing in my journal, and obviously I spent the best part of a decade blogging and writing, and obviously writing my book, and then I'm just not doing that. And then I think, well, speak it. If there's a creative essence or a creative flow coming through, then and instead of getting bummed out at yourself because you're not wanting to sit and craft the words on the computer, speak it out, express that creative energy through the heart on the YouTube channel, which is what I used to do all the time. Gracious Love, we met 2018 maybe. Good to be in touch. Really, really like miraculous times indeed. I appreciate that. Right, and that's, so I was pondering that, the aloneness. There's a video on this channel, actually, one of my much earlier videos about spiritual awakening and loneliness. Yesterday I was sort of reflecting on that, because I too am starting to feel like, ooh, I'm spending too much time alone. And a lot of us can res, like, I'm an introvert. I do enjoy alone time. I can luxuriate and I can restore and reset in alone time, but there's like it's like being in the cocoon, but the cocoon's like rotting, and you're like, okay, butterfly, but time to fly. So yeah, I suspect that's also part of the continuing change, and like deeper lows to rise up into this, like, because it's also the aligned community, because this is like I idea to see, even on the internet. I think there's a lot of communities that are not necessarily what we think they are, and people are finding themselves getting almost sucked into things that are more manipulative than enlightening. And or there's different, I would say, belief systems and or ideas around why there's this aloneness. And I simply got to a point where, yeah, like as in yesterday when I was noodling on this, was like, trust it. Trust that this sort of like being on our own for now is part of the process and the reflectivity and the healing. And yet 100%, like, we are social creatures, and yet maybe there's been purpose in that shifting into greater self-awareness to then open up into more compassionate, self-aware community. It's not for lack of trying, I agree and or honor the fact that for a lot of us, it's nothing to do for lack of love. It's nothing to do for lack of trying. There's specific boundaries or blockages or energetic discernments. I'll speak for myself, that I'm still discerning, that I'm still sort of like hanging back and observing and witnessing self, and then gently like moving through some of these, because of what I've lived as well. I have no desire to make any impulsive moves. I have no desire to run away. That's been a kind of pattern for me, is I just go. I just pack up and bounce. I don't have a lot of stuff. I've not accumulated a lot of worldly possessions, so I can often just, and after the instability of years and what it did to the body and stuff, I'm aware that that's not wise anymore. As in, like what I was just saying, we need to be able to actually relax and be in a certain state of sustainability and stability and relaxation, to actually allow that authentic, natural, creative expression to come through us. And again, the so-called world, three-dimensional perspective, the matrix conditionings, they all incite a kind of you keep going. You're a slave. You have to work to survive, and that energy is being squeezed off. So it's that still sense of things getting worse before we get better, and it's ushering us to move beyond that. Again, that trajectory of it's a fight flight, and even the energies at the top. If you're raging war and battling each other and in competition, they're in flight too. Having, and it doesn't really matter in that sense, like how much or how little one has. It's more to do with your own self-management of the nervous system, because it's all, because most, we can all agree, like, fortune comes and go, money comes and go, well-being to a certain degree can come and go, it ebbs and flows. So it's our, that, but what like the clarity, right? Like the thing, why is things like meditation and presence so powerful? Because that's what we're anchoring into, the stillness behind it all, the void. That's the presence and the stillness that's never changeable. It's the eternal essence that kind of lives through us and permeates through the entire knowingness that we are, and so that's the pattern break, right? Of when we recognize we're just in these endless patterns. That's insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, thinking we're going to get a different result. And in that regard, none of us can go around pointing fingers. We just have to give her a go. We have to feel it and endeavor to practice living it. In my experience at the moment, it's definitely like heart-centered. It's romantic love relationship, or stuff that the programming around even stuff like love, that's also what's breaking down. And you trust that it's only breaking down the falsity. It's only breaking down that which isn't true, even though it's painful. But I think it's that recognition of, we can't keep batting our heads against stream. We can't keep just like raging on at our computers and we're just shopping and staying in these endless loops. It's like going deeper. We have to go deeper into that stillness, to broaden our perspectives, to broaden our energetics, so that we can all hold space for ourselves in union, right, with a collective that's going through a really profound, monumental change, and seeing the whole as having all of the resources, the wherewithal, the light, the resilience to move through it in their own way. Because that's a big part of it. There's no right way to be yourself. And the self-awareness and self-study can only be done by the self. So I've moved through my own intuitive process, shared what bits I've felt like sharing and continue to share. But as far as having a kind of almighty answer or path, other than like get to know, you'll see. And when we say that getting to know the self, it is that, like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you doing every day? I certainly, I'm like looking at things I'm doing every day going, why are, but, and that's been part of this ongoing process, is like accepting myself with my addictions and my issues and all of the shits and the shame, and still being able to like show up as an authentic human. And that, I got an interesting comment. Again, I'm being more just sort of honoring myself and removing comments and stuff when I feel like they're just attacky or what have you. But, I'm not pretending. I teach yoga, meditation. I read tarot. I've created this brand. I sell things online. I'm simply a human being. I do feel a lot of compassion and love for the planet. I have had my own experiences. That's all this is. As in the comment referred to, like, what's your degree? What's your expertise? What's your this, your that? And again, I'll sit with it, I'll reflect on it, and just think, I don't. Although here I am responding, we're still working through it, right? Because I would want to be responsible. I don't want to gaslight people. I don't want to clickbait people. It's none of that. But when I reflect and go, no, that just came authentically through me. That's what I felt like sharing, and I'm not pretending to be an expert. That's the only difference. If I was pretending to be a financial expert and then putting those claims out, that's one thing. I'm simply a human being like you on the planet, living her little life, trying to get by and survive, adopting skills and tools that I have found and still find helpful and my clients find helpful. So continuing to share some of that, and kind of like praying and projecting and hoping for the best for everybody, because that's what I want people, like I want people to wish me the best for me, and so I wish the best for myself and keep working on all that self-love and compassion, and I see positive change, but it's still deep and really painful. What's your degree and expertise in said subject? And it's like, oh, I'm just a human with some ideas expressing those thought forms on the internet. Like I'm not, and I'm not, and something about like making these sort of predictions. I'm not even necessarily saying it's a prediction. I'm just sort of like noodling on ideas and thoughts that come through. If it ends up being predictive, I mean, in fairness, a lot of us as sensitives and intuitives, ADHD, it's like the astrologers. They're not trying to be political or whatever. They're just laying down what the stars are communicating to them, which is part of our galactic intelligence and inheritance. And it's the more you open up your intuitive energetics, you kind of start to understand that's, there's all these different things at play, and you're not so sort of offended by the narratives, I suppose. Anywho, I just kind of rambled on. Right, just praying, because that's the depth of, none of us are, they know not, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's the only way you get through it yourself. I have to keep forgiving myself. And so why wouldn't I forgive everybody else? We're all, everybody's just doing their best trying to figure stuff out. However, let's be real. Like anybody, I need enough detachment from situations. I live on my own. I live in the countryside as well, so I don't have lots of people or neighbors around. That's what I'm choosing right now. There's horses. I have a cat. I've inherited a cat from a friend. We're co-parenting. I have nieces. I have, again, internet connections. I have some solid human connections. Small circle, but it's solid. Holla Shazam. What else does a girl need? I enjoy the work I do. That is of huge benevolence. I'm working personally, just because you're here, and if you're here, you're maybe choosing to be here. I'm personally working on having more fun and creating more social, and I'm having loops, things that are blocking it. And I feel like I'm suddenly seeing it for what it is and going, okay, we're good. I get it. I'm just gonna get really clear, because that's another thing people talk about manifestation. It's a real thing. And yet the clarity and the focus and the kind of commitment to what you're doing is also very real. And sometimes we get distracted. Most of the time we get really distracted, or we get in cycles of blame, or we get in cycles of codependency that we don't even know we're in. Hence the continual learning of things. But yeah, now it's getting clear. We're gonna go out dancing, partying, having a little bit of a frolic, because it's just been too long. I really haven't been able, for whatever reason, I've been in such shadowy realms, even though, again, on social media it would probably look like I've been just, because I've gone to teachers and festivals, and I've been in attendance, but I've been in such a healing phase that when I reflect on that, I'm like, oh God, poor me. It was like watching yourself moving through this reality just trying to get back to yourself because you've been so kind of traumatized and you're so burnt out and frazzled. So I look back with lots of compassion, being like, yes, but now I had a mushroom ceremony like 5 years ago, April 2019, before shit really hit the proverbial downward spiral of chaos. Even it was already hitting it, but it wasn't splatting it all over the room. I had a mushroom ceremony just before everything went down, and in that I've got like, meditation, lit the candles in the sage, like with the shaman. We're having this huge ceremony, and I'm like preparing myself, thinking, oh God, it's going to be so deep. And honestly, it was the most just joyful, giggly frolic where the plant medicine message to me was like, have fun, MJ, have fun. I'm like, okay. And then and then that kind of lasted a little bit, and then then I fell from grace. And kind of went quiet, I guess, and have been in and out of some pretty intense, again, core wounding healing stuff. And that's all I need to say, because anyone who also is doing shadow work and is tapping up against the core shit, that grief just, it's just so, it's like the heartache, but the heartache keeps going round and round, and you're just purging such depth of pain, and yet you're in the process. Did I share this in this share? I had a really beautiful moment yesterday, though, because I think it was in this share. Now I'm having a brain fart. I have no idea. But in the book that I wrote, pretty much at the end of each lesson, I say, just keep going. Yesterday, I was having some, like, purge, and in it, thinking, fuck this, man. Like, I want this to be done. And then I got my own lesson, like, in and then I heard, like, just keep going. And then I started, like, laughing and crying, but both super genuine, just in the shits, but being able to laugh at it all. And I felt kind of released. And then today I'm feeling kind of jazzed up and juicy jus and happy to be here. And look, gracious love, a true blue of the ancient times on Ultra Love TV, back circa 2017 to even 2020. And then just even keeping to the daily shares have been quite a challenge. I've wanted to give up so many times, you guys. And I've been benevolent enough to attract people who have told me so as well. I'm not really hanging out with those people anymore, and that not, like, just because I'm on my own little mish, I guess, and I'm determined. I don't even know what it is anymore, other than just be en fleur. Oh, and sell push products onto you guys. Here's the thing about the Ultra Love T-Mail store. It's collaborating with another store that's trying to propagate slow fashion, independent brands. And all of the stuff is like 100% sustainably sourced cotton, good exchanges and returns. And honestly, don't buy it. Buy only secondhand. That's my true teaching. This is just a way to share the brand and, like, organic, whatever marketing stuff. And like, if you dig on the vibratories, then get yourself a fucking jumper and vibratory it out. Share the vibratories with everybody else. Shine your weird light on the world, because the world needs it, you guys. If we can't laugh, we're toast. I agree. That's something about, like, different pathologies, like different, pathologies on the planet. Like, some people just, it's like, they can't honor the shame and say sorry, but there's like a seriousness. I have it too, though. Like, people throughout my life have thought that I was the biggest bitch, because when I'm just staring off into the distance, I have what people call a resting bitch face. Or that's just what they're projecting onto me. But also, like, any of us, we're all everything, as far as like, of course I can be a bitch and be aggro and be like, what the fuck is life, and have my own bullshitty victimhood and know how, oh, we're so privileged, but then also feel sorry for myself because, it's like the full spectrum, but then it's all a fucking joke on me because what is life? Nobody knows. And that's what gets me. We're here in this divine mystery, and instead of just being like laughing and joking and crying and being like, oh my God, people are fighting over stuff that we all have to release when we die anyway. It's all, and that's the insanity of some of these patterns that we've all witnessed our entire lives, been traumatized by these programs that are being propagated on the textbook and the TVs, and we're all like, that's life, but like, no, and then, realizing, wait, but we can change. I I just heard Michael Jackson. By the way, you guys, it's not even 3 a.m. Just so you know, you're having a proper party with MJ at like 2 a.m. on a Monday morning. Don't worry, I'll be able to have a wee little nap before my early morning yoga sesh. I have 4 sessions in the diary, 4 lovely little yoga sessions from my Love is Supreme. By my Love is Supreme, I mean my yoga clients, but they're also my Love is Supreme. Being like, thanks for it. I'm like, well, you do it. That's part of it. That's why I love yoga. It's self-responsible. Like, you can't get the benefit unless you do it. I'm just super into it so I can help people show up for themselves and for me, because it's an exchange, right? And we support each other on that whole yogic vibratory journey. It's super duper fun. It keeps me well. It keeps them well. It's kind of a nice thing to do. So is tarot. I like sharing tarot. This is just selfishly for me to share, because creative energy can get stifled. We don't want that, do we? We want to express yourself. You got to me. I must say, whoever you are, well, gracious love, I know. Isn't it funny? Like, you do know, we didn't know people. We've met people, like, there's just, like, anyone who knows. It's like genuine, real deal, holla shazam connections are being pioneered right through this World Wide Web. It's already happening. It's already done. We're already getting there. We're already there. I'm totally, right. I mean, I've been up since about midnight. I went to bed at 5. My sleep schedule is all over, but here I am, and I'm kind of that's the part, this sort of side angle of the unhingedness of it, is like, I don't, just is what it is. I'm in my own little flow. Take it or leave it. What are you gonna do? I have to accept it. Better to accept it than like toss and turn at night. Is there a song? There might be a song about tossing and turning. I drove all night to get to you. Is that all right? I've never done that before. Have you? I've never driven all night for somebody, and nor have I had that done to me, but maybe one day. Thing is, like, you have to be aware that you sort of think that'd be fun, but if it's not the right person, you're like, that's part of the big unashamedness of putting ourselves on the internet. There's that level of like, the fucks have dropped away. There's genuinely like just about enough self-love and grace to be like, you know what, at the end of the day, who cares? Because it's the trolly haters that are like, make people be like, oh God. And then, because I wanted to shut down the video that got that comment about what my degree was, and then I just thought, no, actually, you know what, fuck it. I still cringe myself, I annoy myself, many of the things, I trigger myself, like who doesn't, but I sort of just, it's this point of being like, you know what, how else are we going to be ourselves unless we just practice showing up and being ourselves? and I'm having a coffee. Like I said, it's not even 3 in the morning. I'll probably have a nap before I do loads of yoga in the day. And this is my life. And I'm endeavoring to do the whole conscious transformation, living manifestation vibration. I wrote a book about it, and the depth of challenge and deep inner work and shadow work has blown my socks off. So I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, seriously. However, if you recognize that like things need to change, that's a way to do it. That's a way to radically change your life and potentially have a positive impact on the planet. But who knows? I don't know. Like, I don't claim to know anything other than one thing that I would dare say, and people like Gabor Mate and some types of doctor people that would have more reputability than I do, right? Or just expertise. But doing emotional work is healthier for the physical body. If we're repressing emotion, that's often what leads to compounded, ailments or pain in the bod. And like, what are they called? Autoimmune disorders and things like this. So it's like, and they've said this, even with long-term smokers who process their emotions, they are often healthier than smokers who don't. So if we as a society can accept that starting to process our emotions is a great way to start feeling better, even though it's uncomfortable in the moment. That's the whole pleasure pain thing. If we keep avoiding feeling our emotion, we're again just sort of, it's like just brushing things under the rug. Eventually the rug's gonna be like a mound. Right? That's part of where you come to certain points and why dynamics change, because if you recognize that people just want to deny, skirt things under the rug, not talk about the honest truth of what's actually going on, it's hard to have a kind of authentic relation there. And from this perspective, it's all good. It's all love. It's just that the more self-responsible we become, as in certain energies, you're not going to be giving too much attention, because it's likely to feel draining. People that lie and aren't able to be honest, there tends to be a drainage of sorts. You'll feel it. That's, again, becoming more meditative, more self-aware. You pay attention to beyond words, right? We all get stuck, and I tell you, if you're vulnerable and your nervous system is fried, just do your best to get yourself better, because in my experience, those are the times you'll attract some of the most predatory energies, is when you're vulnerable side. But that's just my personal experience, So it's kind of shape-shifting into a more empowered state where you like project your force field, like what's her face in Twilight, her superpower where she could create like a bubble vortex of protection for her and her clan. That's what we do. So create a force field of like only certain energetics can penetrate that force field in alignment with your vision. I'm getting whacked out, you guys. I'm not growing myself out. I'm gonna lay low. I'm gonna go back to bed, I think. Sorry. It's like people think, so you've woken up at midnight, had yourself a coffee. Yep. Any coffee addict knows once you're addicted enough, it does nothing, okay? But honestly, what I actually need is more water, but we're going to have more water and then we're going to go to bed. Thank you for joining me for my midnight rambles. Should I just call these midnight rambles? Or just whatever I feel like? I think we might end up doing more shares because life is changing fast and radical over here. And I feel like some of y'all are going to appreciate the sharings. And also, if you want the more exclusive stuff and the private collective stuff at the Patreons, you can sign up to Patreon. There's a $5 discount, or a $5 tier and a £20 tier. And the higher tier just get access to all the courses and like Yoga Crew and like all the playlists and content I've created over the years. And discounts on services. Lower tier gets all of the access, but not as much as the discount. So anyway, can you see my eyes? I'm falling asleep as I speak. Thank you guys. Like seriously, thank you. I really appreciate all of you so much. And I hope genuine, that we can all find greater love and peace and wisdom and holding space and heal and clear and, you know, find that common ground. Really pray for that, that we can find some kind of common ground and elevate the systems and the structures so that we can all feel more supported and we can sort of evolve out of some of that really destructive, lower, like competitive energies. Thank you. Thank you, gracious love. This was for you, my lover. I felt very, very guided to come and do a live share. Yeah. That's it. And that's so much the truth. We're all human. We're all having our own expression. It's just straight up unconditional love. It's all about love. It's all about love. Even when it looks like not, and so often it doesn't feel like it is, but we got that. We got it in the heart. It's there. It's there. You've got to wait to for you. Do, 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 do. You know that song? Baby. Hold it down. I don't know. I never know the words, but it was the Gorillas. Okay, we're signing out. Let me know if you guys enjoy. I might come back and do a few more live shares. The thing is, I say this, I'm intuitive, so I'm only going to do it when I feel guided, so whatever. Have a great evening. Sleep well. Look after yourself. May the force be with us all. Peace out, you guys.